Gentlemen, are your relationships costing you more money than your heart? Let's uncover the hidden traps that could derail your financial future. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Miss Wangoi Methaki and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be giving you several financial pitfalls men face when it comes to relationships. Let's dive in with our first pitfall. 1. Overspending to impress. Here's the issue. Early on, splurging on expensive, flashy gifts, dinners, and luxury experiences can rack up debt for you and eventually start eating into your savings. Of course, there's consequences to that. For instance, if you have a credit card, the credit card balance spirals out of control, and without you knowing, you start living paycheck to paycheck. Here is a solution for you. Start budgeting for things like date nights. Allocate a clear dating fund in your monthly budget. Okay? Focus on experiences. Choose thoughtful, low-cost activities, something like hiking or home-cooked meals. But that, you can't do that in the beginning of a relationship. This is after you've known each other for quite some time. Because in the beginning you invite someone for a home-cooked meal, they won't show up. So eventually. Other than that, you can go for walks. You also start planning ahead. You can use apps and stuff like spreadsheets to help you track and cap your spending. Now that we've tamed the splurges, let's talk about conversations you're avoiding. Most of the time, we try and avoid financial conversations for reasons best known to us. Here's the issue. Pushing money talks down the road breeds mismatched values. For instance, spender versus saver. And there's consequences to that. After some time, resentment builds. You see, this is because you didn't ask those questions early enough to see if you guys match. For instance, if I am a saver and my spouse is a spender, eventually we are bound to fight about it. So, as I was saying, some of the consequences are resentment. If we have any long-term plans, they clash. And unfortunately, all this leads to things like breakups and financial stress. Here is a solution. Start scheduling money dates. You can do this by setting an hour every month aside to review budgets and goals. Start using I statements. For instance, I feel anxious when we don't discuss our spending habits. Okay? Avoid using we. Always speak for yourself. Say I. Start your statements with I. Okay? And also align on goals. Agree on big ticket items, things like vacations, cars, home purchases. Discuss these things up front. Okay? It will save you a lot of headache. So, it might even help you avoid investing with the wrong person. Next up, let's touch a little bit on the legal safeguards that many men overlook. These are the unprotected legal commitments. Here is the issue. Skipping prenuptials or doing something as simple as co-signing loans without legal counsel puts your assets at risk. There's consequences to that. It can be quite hefty. We all know of divorce. So if eventually you guys divorce or you take a loan and your partner defaults, it could leave you liable for massive debts. But not to panic, there's a solution to everything. So 1, have prenuptial agreements clearly outlining asset division before marriage. 2, legal review. Have an attorney vet any and every joint loan or business contract. And 3, keep records. Maintain copies of all agreements in a secure folder and in a secure place. Now, let's balance support without going overboard. There's danger when it comes to unbalanced financial support. And this is because funding your partner's or your spouse's lifestyle or even debts fully can foster dependency and resentment. And eventually, you may start feeling taken advantage of. And when you start having those feelings or negative thoughts, relationship tension rises. So, to avoid this, define limits, agree on maximum monthly support figure. Also, try to formalize large loans. You can do this by drafting a simple IOU with repayment timelines. At the same time, don't forget to encourage independence. You do this by helping your partner start building a business or something like an emergency fund. Okay? You can do all that, but how can you spot a red flag, especially a financial red flag early? Let's explore. You need to be able to spot a red flag a mile away, because ignoring these red flags can cost you a huge amount of money. These are things like scams and gold diggers. Although I think everybody is a gold digger because you all are looking for money. But I guess you understand what I mean. Here is the issue. When you overlook exploitative behavior, things like constant money requests and lack of contribution, you become a target for manipulation. Relationship isn't reciprocal. So, to be able to notice these red flags, watch out for patterns. For instance, repeated requests without reciprocation is a warning sign. Set very strong boundaries, and be strict. Something like, I'm happy to help, but I can't cover rent indefinitely. You can also seek outside input. If you feel like maybe you doubt whatever it is you're seeing or the signs, the red flags, talk to a friend. A friend's perspective can help you confirm your concerns. So don't let love derail you, and don't allow it to derail your goals either. Here is how. When you start sacrificing your personal financial goals, it becomes a problem, because you start doing weird things like diverting retirement, investments, or career plans for your partner's needs. When you do this, you risk long-term security and potentially early retirement. So you might end up working for a very long time. So maintain separate accounts, keeping one dedicated for retirement, for investments, and stuff like that. Also, do quarterly reviews by assessing personal versus shared goals every 3 months or so. Pitch in equally, and this is because both partners commit to mutual financial milestones. What happens when you part ways? Don't get stuck in a limbo. Think about post-breakup financial entanglements. I know nobody wants to think about the negative side of things, but we're told it's always to prepare yourself for the best, but what? Here is the issue. Failing to close joint accounts or separate shared debts after a breakup will bring lingering liabilities that will hurt your credit scores and your monthly cash flow. So here's what you do when you break up or you see signs like you guys are not going anywhere. Do an immediate account separation, close or freeze joint credit cards and bank accounts. When dividing things, use legal division. Use small claims court or a lawyer to help you split assets fairly. And finally, document everything. So keep emails and certified letters as proof. Okay? Let's tackle societal pressures. Remember, all these are pitfalls men face in relationships. So there's societal pressure to overprovide. This is where you feel compelled to be the sole provider. And this is because of these things they call gender norms. Okay? There's consequences also to something like that, because it can lead to something like burnout, stress, and strained finances. Solution to this is redefine roles. Discuss financial roles based on skills and not stereotypes. Also, share responsibilities. You can split bills and chores to ease financial load. It depends on where you are, whether you're from the Western world, because in Africa it's a little bit different. Not everyone will agree to split bills and chores in the house. So find what works best for you and your spouse and your person. Okay? And third, set mutual goals. Build a joint vision for income, savings, and lifestyle. Avoid risky financial behavior by staying grounded. 9. Risky financial behavior. This can be something like you gambling or involving yourself in high risk investments just to keep up with expectations. We all know the consequences when it comes to things like gambling or high risk investments. There's potential of losses, and this leads to relationship stress if you dip into joint funds. But here's a solution. Use risk questionnaires. This is a simple quiz that will help you gauge your tolerance, cap speculation. This is where you limit fun money, you set aside money just for fun, to a small percentage of investable assets, and have an accountability partner. This simply means share your moves with someone who is not afraid to call you out. Finally, build the safety net that you both need. This is where you have a lack of emergency preparedness. The issue here is no joint emergency fund or adequate insurance coverage can cause something like a medical bill or a job loss, or even simple unexpected repairs plunge you both into crisis. You fix this by building an emergency fund. That's 3 to 6 months fund. To make it easier, automate transfers into a joint savings account. Audit insurance covers that you have. May it be health, life, and renters or home ownership policies annually. And finally, have a disaster plan. Agree on a step-by-step response to major financial shocks. Remember the key threads tying all these together. Thus, communication, law awareness, and of course, balance. So have honest, regular money dialogues to prevent misunderstandings. Ensure that you have contracts and documentation to safeguard your assets and foster mutual support while safeguarding individual financial health. Master these strategies. I hope you learned something from the 10 pitfalls that I've given you. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications bell so you never miss out on practical financial tips. I am Miss Wangoi Mwithathi, your personal finance and investment coach, and I'll see you in the next video.